Hey, and welcome back to Love Restore. I'm your favorite host, Marshaun Olaniyan. Thank you so much for coming back once again, listening to the show. If you are new to the show, again, hey, Marshaun Olaniyan. If you are listening to this, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing the show, coming back and being a part of these seasons each and every time. It's really mean the world to us. We are growing here on KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes Radio. And again, the platform is my platform, which is Love Restore. This is where we are at today. So for these next 30 minutes, we are and have been talking about for these past couple of weeks, we've been talking about angry Black women and who told us that. And so today we're specifically talking about the armor that we wear, how success became our shield in love. So let's go ahead and jump in. If you are a note taker, then absolutely grab your pen and paper, because I don't want to just come here and speak at you. I want to give you some useful tips, tools, and strategies that you can take back into your life. Utilize these things so you can watch your life, your love relationships, as well as the relationship with yourself transform. We're looking for a transformation. So this is not just talk therapy. I literally talk about my life's experiences, some of my clients' life's experiences, some of the work that we have done together. And today we are trying to understand just where this armor of becoming a success and how we're using it as a shield in our love life and where all of that came from. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this topic today. We have been applauded for our success, the degrees, the titles, the leadership. But sometimes that same success becomes the armor we can't take off, even with the people that we love. The people that we love could be your romantic relationship, like your significant other. The people that we love could be our child or children, because it happens. The people that we love could be our family, whether it's our siblings, whether it's our parents, grandparents, etc. And then, of course, the family, our own family that we create is our friendships. And so all of these can take a toll on your relationships. Now, I specifically talk about the relationship with yourself as well as the relationship with your significant other, but please hear what I'm saying. If you could utilize these skills, the new skill, and maybe a new skill for you, if you utilize these skills in all of your relationships, I highly recommend that you do not only take them and use them in one area of your life, that you spread these things out and really just we're trying to get a better understanding of you and why you became the you that you are and the skin that you are today. Not blaming anybody else, taking accountability. That's exactly what we're doing. We're taking accountability for how our lives are turning out based off of the things that we decide to do. So the decisions that you make, the actions that you take, the actions that you don't take, the decisions that you don't make, realizing that the decision that you do not take is still making a decision. It's not the best decision that can be made, but you're still making a decision. So with that being said, let's talk about the first thing, which is achievement and over responsibility and how they became survival tools. So we have to go back and think about not just our loving relationships and how sometimes we put on these things as armor, but just society, the messages that society has told us specifically as Black women, and the things that we have taken on. It could have been our hair, right? So for a period of time, we were told that our hair, and I have to say even sometimes even now, our hair has not been good enough, specifically in its natural state. And so because we were told that we were not pretty, or was heard the term over and over again about your nappy hair and all of these things, we decided to take upon ourselves to make it more Eurocentric, which is straightening, the relaxers, instead of having the curly pattern that a lot of us have, whether it's tight curls or loose curls. We decided to put relaxers in our hair to relax those curls, to straighten it out. And so sometimes, and I've heard this myself, when I was when I first started embracing my natural hair, I remember it came from my mom. Actually, I was embracing the hairstyle of dreads or locks or whatever you deem them as. And I remember when they were really short, like, and my mom, bless her heart, I love her to death, but I remember her calling them pickaninnies. And I don't know the history behind pickaninnies, but I do know that that was something that was a derogatory term used toward children back in the day with my ancestors and everything. And so I know that it wasn't a good connotation when it came to hair. And so I remember vividly, like it happened yesterday, and this has to be more than 20 years at this point, but I remember her telling me not to embrace wearing locks, or as she called them, pickaninnies, because I would not be hired in corporate America. Well, I didn't listen. I didn't listen because I just didn't think that that was necessarily a thing for me. I knew that it could have been a thing back in the day. And I'm 48, so older than me. I know that that was definitely a thing where they had to choose in order to be accepted in corporate America, as specifically when it comes to their hair, not any other challenges. I'm not talking about any of the other challenges in corporate America, but specifically when it came to their hair. So I just was like, I'm not following what everybody say. I don't believe what you're saying. That's your belief. That's not my belief, right? And so I literally started wearing my locks. I wore them when they were very short. And for a period of time, as they got longer, I used to wear them like straight up, so they would stick up all over my hair. And then as they got longer, I started to just style them. And so long story short, that wasn't my story. I got hired in corporate America, and I didn't have an issue specifically when it came to the texture of my hair or the style of my hair. I never had that issue, but some of that we get programmed, and we take these things on survival because we equate our hair with not being able to get to the next stage or make that achievement. In this case, my mom was trying to make the correlation that because of my hair, I wasn't going to be able to reach my full potential in corporate America because they were not going to accept me. And so it became a survival tool for me to start. I would pin it up. I would hardly ever wear it just straight down. And a lot of those things just had to do with me not feeling as comfortable because not a lot of sisters around me and brothers were not embracing the texture of their hair. And I just didn't want to be a part of the system. I was tired of the creamy crack, as we call it. And I was tired of having to sit there and the chemical burn. I was tired of all of that. And so I just started to write my own path. And so we can take these things on for achievement, and they can become a shield. So the creamy crack, the straightened hair, the wanting to be a part and accepted in corporate America can have us going down the road of it becoming a shield, it becoming the armor by us changing our hairstyle just to fit into what society says is correct. So that's one of the ways that we have taken on our success. And then there is the invisible armor that none of us really talk about, which is the perfectionism or the control or even the hyper independence. And so let's talk about each one of them just briefly. Perfectionism. If you were a child, let me say it this way, if you were a child that had experience where your parent or guardian, you saw that they pretty much only gave you high praises or achievement, if you will, if you succeeded in a certain area, now at some point, nothing is good enough unless you do it. Or if you miss one, like maybe you were in school, and maybe you missed a one or two exam questions, and now you feel like you're a failure because you didn't get the 100%, not realizing that an A is an A is an A is an A. So that was programmed in you that you had to be perfect, or maybe you didn't get enough attention from your parent or guardians. And so the way that you felt that you could be and get the attention that you were seeking is to be perfect, is to be the good child, is to not do anything wrong, not to upset your parents, et cetera, et cetera. So that perfectionism is now carrying into your career, which is great there. But then you also try to bring that into your romantic relationship, which could be damaging because intellectually we know that none are perfect. And some just don't lean into that. They allow their the other side to come out and take over, which leads me into the control factor. I have a lot of people that have conversations with some clients, some friends, some family, but essentially they don't feel that the thing is going to be done well if they are not the ones that is doing it. And so then they bring that into their romantic relationship, and they're trying to control every aspect of the relationship. They're trying to control when they reach out to the person. They're trying to control when they have sex. They're trying to control where the date night is going to be. They're trying to control whenever they travel, where the destination is going to be. They have to make all the plans. They have to be a part of everything instead of taking a back seat, allowing somebody else to lead. And I'm not saying that you always have to do this, but at some point you need to be able to relinquish and share the responsibilities, because that's where a lot of us get overwhelmed and burnt out. And then we're wondering why we're overwhelmed and burnt out, and then feeling like, well, my partner's not helping me. I have to do everything for myself. But then here's where this accountability comes into place, because maybe you're not realizing that you are a part of your own problem, because the way you set your relationship up is, I have to do everything. I have to be a part of everything. I have to plan everything. I have to make sure. I have to also be perfect. My outfit has to be perfect. No, I can't go out the house without no makeup. So there's a lot of layers to this shield or this mask that we are wearing in our relationship. So the armor that we're wearing, the protection that we believe that is happening, but there are things that are happening behind this, things that are not helping you, that you may be unaware of. And then finally, there is the hyper independence, where that kind of comes in hand with control, which is, if it's I don't need any help. Right? So your partner, your spouse may ask you, hey, do you need any help? Or a coworker may even ask you, hey, do you need any help? But in your mind, because you want to do it all, you feel that you have to control every aspect of your life, every aspect of every situation. You don't want any help. But that's where the frustration comes in. That's where the overwhelm comes in. That's where the disconnection comes in, because your partner and even your coworkers are looking at you like, well, why am I here? If you feel that you can do everything, why am I here? And you may be saying, why are you here if I'm doing everything? But you're not realizing that you are a part of the very issue that you are now complaining about, because you are allowing your armor, I can do it all, I don't need nobody's help, to take over. So we just have to pay attention. We have to be more aware of how we are showing up and the things that we are doing, instead of always believing and blaming our partners or even our coworkers. And let's not forget our babies, because we blame everybody. And again, this is where the accountability comes into place, because if you have a habit of always pointing the finger at everybody else and hardly ever pointing the finger at yourself, taking accountability for what you brought to the table, the things that you were not doing, you were wrong, did you apologize? Like, all of those things absolutely matter. So this is where it's becoming a shield, and why you are blocking out the love that you say that you want. Okay, so let's move forward. When then we have the unintended consequences, right? Where your partner is feeling emotionally shut out. Again, there's that part where I just mentioned, you have to control every aspect. He asks you, do you need help in a certain area? Or maybe he never asked because you always do it, and then you never ask for help, because in your mind, number one, if I'm not doing it, it's not being done correctly. Number two, you're frustrated and overwhelmed because nobody or very few people are asking you. But then even when they do help, it's not done your way, which is the correct way in your mind. And so you're on this hamster wheel of creating the very thing that you're pissed off about. You're helping to create the very thing that you are pissed off about. So you are shutting out your partner after a while, because again, he is asking, why am I here? And then there is less and less vulnerability on your end. And so again, he's wondering, well, I'm not sure. Like, we don't really know each other. And then I hear clients actually come and say, well, life is very monotonous, and we do the same thing every single day. And he never asked for help. And then there's the anger, there's the frustration, there's the just wanting to leave the relationship. And not to say that you need to stay per se, but slow things down and really take inventory about you. Because again, there's that pointy, not taking accountability for what you are doing and what you are bringing to the table. And now you're continuing to point the finger, which is where that shield is coming up. No vulnerability. He can't see you sweat. He's never saw you let your hair down literally and figuratively. He's never seen you without makeup. He's never seen you cry. You've never shared any of your deep, dark secrets, the ones that you want to take to the grave with you, because maybe you shared it before and somebody used those words against you previously. And so the very thing that you want, which is the intimacy and the deep connection and your companion and your friend, you fail to reach that level because he feels emotionally shut out from you, by you, not realizing because you're not aware. And honestly, it's because of that shield, the armor that you're wearing, the mask that you're wearing. Nobody can see you sweat. And so let me ask you this. If nobody can see you sweat, specifically your spouse, then I'm going to ask you, why are you trying to cultivate a relationship? Because if it's only about you and your feelings and the things that you are doing, as well as the things that you are receiving, and the first time, the second time, and or if this is a reoccurring issue in your relationship where you're saying, well, I don't really know you. You act like you don't need me. Why haven't I seen you cry? How come we haven't had this discussion about ABC? I see that you're frustrated. I see that you're tired, but then we're never talking through these things so we can get on the other side. Not only get on the other side, but get on the other side together so I can understand you more. So the vulnerability, there's a really, really low connection when it comes to vulnerability, which is why the two of you are on the road of either breaking up or have divorce. And of course, there are other things that come into play, but this is just adding to. All because of the shield, the mask, not being vulnerable. It absolutely matters in relationships, not just your romantic relationship. Because think about it, even when you think about your friendships, the friends that you love to hang around the most, they are the least judgmental. They give you the most support and help. They correct you when you are wrong, but they also allow space for you to be vulnerable, for you to cry, for you to call out for help, for you to whatever being vulnerable means to you. Those are the people that remember you. And so if you're able to do that with a friendship and not your spouse, that's a problem, because your friends are kept in a friend zone for a reason, and your friends cannot give you what your spouse can give you on a deeper level, especially when we're talking about a lifetime. Yes, your friends can be there for you, absolutely. But if you're talking about, and you are in a relationship, and especially a marriage, and this partner, your fiance, your spouse has not seen this level of vulnerability from you, I can absolutely tell you at some point it's going to plateau and break off. Because this is where the connection comes into play. The vulnerability is a must. It's a must. It really is. Okay, so then let's talk about the misconception that being soft at home makes you vulnerable to disrespect. I have to say, I'm not really in agreement with this one. And honestly, I'm not in agreement with my list, but excuse me, I am in agreement with my list, but not necessarily this one. And it might just be the wording. But the point is, okay, because I went down a rabbit hole. The point is, just because you are vulnerable does not mean that you are setting yourself up for being disrespected. Because the person and people that you choose to have in your life, there should be a level of communication, whether you have to verbalize it or not, to say that they know, if I share this sacred part of myself with you, it should not be used back against me. Sometimes we give access to ourselves in this way to the wrong people. And then when the right person comes along, your spouse, a partner, or even a friend that really has your back, but you have yet to allow yourself to even open up to that friendship, at some point, they're going to be like, something's off here. And then they'll start pulling away. But if you open up yourself to the right person and people about you, about the things that you've been through, about your fears and the trauma that each of us have experienced, there's different levels of trauma, whatever your thing is, your partner should be able to see this side of you. And you should be able to see this side of your partner. None of us are stones. What do I mean by that? None of us are sitting there without any emotional attachment and or feelings about whatever. Each of us need help. Each of us need to speak about the things that are taking over our headspace, that are keeping us up at night. The things that we have experienced that have shaped us into the people that we are today. Your partner should have access to you in this way, with an understanding that this is not to be used against me later on. And understanding that you only share these pieces of you with the right person or people. Not anybody. So if you already felt some type of judgment from that person, you probably shouldn't share the sacred things that happened to you with this person. So it's also using your God-given discernment about the people that you want to open up and share your life with. So yes, it's them if they're bringing this back in your face, but it also is that accountability that I'm bringing to you. It's also you and the choice and the person that you decided to share this with. So it's always two sides and really three sides to a story. What they say, his side, her side, and then there's the truth. It's okay. We're learning. We're learning. This is the shield, the mask, the armor, all this stuff that we have bought into, and why we may even be coming off as the angry Black woman. But who told us that? You don't have to own that. This is what we're doing. We're calling all this stuff out. So now you can become aware of how you're showing up. So you can throw all this junk in the garbage where it belongs. Understanding that coaching is essential. Therapy and coaching usually goes hand in hand. I have several clients that have me as their coach, and they also work with the therapist, because the therapist is talking about their past and all of the things that made them them, and then some of their actions and behavior, some of the things that I can't really pull because that's not my area of focus. My area of focus is coaching you from where you at today so we can get you to where you want to be tomorrow. All of the actions that are holding you back here today, we're going to rewrite those, re-enter a new script, a new program. So now we can start shifting the way that you are showing up in life. We can start shifting the way that you think about men. We're going to start shifting the way that you think about yourself. All of this helps you to create a new world vision for your life, for the people in your life, and the things that you start attracting to you toward your life. But it really does start with you, your beliefs about life, your beliefs about men, your beliefs about coaching, your beliefs about therapy, your beliefs about people, your beliefs about yourself. All of these help to shape the armor, the mask, the shield. And so once you start becoming aware of why Marshaun is the way Marshaun is, why, real world example. If you've never heard my story about my chocolate skin, here we are again today with it. I had to learn to love me, all of me. And what they say, what's the saying, flaws and all? I had to learn to love me, flaws and all. And the silly and funny thing was that I never noticed that I had dark skin until somebody else pointed it out to me. And isn't that funny? That's the way that it happens, because the flaws that we deem to have as flaws, usually somebody pointed them out to you, and then you start having an insecurity about it. I didn't have an insecurity about my skin color until somebody else told me that having dark skin was not the right thing, the chosen thing. I can't help that I was born dark. I could have did some, bleaching cream and all that stuff. That's not my area. And so then I had to be radical about fully accepting who I is. I know I said that wrong. Who I am. Flaws, what some people deem as a flaw, having dark skin. And we've heard rappers talk about it. I remember growing up, and I think it was in middle school at this time, but literally I remember it like it was yesterday. In my friend group, I was the darkest. In my home, I was the darkest. And so long story short, I remember me and a group of my friends were walking. I think it was 3 of us, so 2 other girls. And we were walking down the street, and I remember a group of guys were riding in their car, and we thinking, oh, they all cool because they got it there in the car. We was just walking. And I remember it was like it was yesterday. They was kind of talking real loud. I don't know if it was on purpose or if they were trying to whisper, but either way, I heard them. And so what ended up happening is one of the guys was like, all right, I'm gonna get out the car and I'm gonna talk to her. Which was one of my friends. And then another guy was like, all right, I'm gonna talk to her. And there's another friend. And then I remember the guy saying, well, I don't want to talk to her. She's too black. That was my comment. And so for me, I couldn't escape my dark skin for a while. And I would always try to shrink and not be seen so I wouldn't be teased about having the darkest skin. And I would find ways to literally shrink myself. And I'm pretty tall for a woman. Growing up, I didn't really realize this, but as an adult, I'm pretty tall for a woman. I'm 5'7", and a lot of women are shorter than me. And so with that being said, I really couldn't shrink. That's my point. As a woman, I really couldn't shrink. Even as a child, I was one of the tall people or tall girls in the class. And so I really couldn't shrink myself. But I didn't realize that at the time. And so long story short, I had to start radically accepting who I am. I had to literally start talking to myself like, Marshaun, if you don't love you, who do you expect to come in and love you? Marshaun, if you don't love your black skin, who else is going to love your black skin? Marshaun, if you don't tell yourself that you're beautiful, who else is going to come in and tell you that you are beautiful? And so I really had to speaking life and love into myself until I was just like, well, you know what? This is silly. Marshaun, this is silly. And why is it silly? Because you were married before. So somebody obviously thought that you were beautiful enough, at least in their eyes, to say I do to you. So once literally I came to the realization where somebody actually did love you, and they married you, yeah, somebody has to be selective of my skin color other than me. And is it going to be everybody? Nope. But guess what? Another realization came even with that. I'm not looking to marry everybody. I just want the one person that's going to want me like I'm going to want them. The one person that's going to show up for me like I'm going to show up for them. The one person that's going to be vulnerable with me like I'm going to be vulnerable with them. That is what it looks like to get rid of and shed the armor. It is the relearning how to receive, whether it's support, whether it's love, whether it's care, without guilt. You don't have to feel guilty with somebody loving you. You don't have to feel guilty by not being the angry black woman. You don't have to feel guilty by getting rid of resting bitch face. You don't have to feel guilty that you're happy all the time. Learn to lean into these areas and take on these new skill sets, but also being aware of how you are showing up. So now you know what you don't need, what's holding you back, what's not serving you. And so thank you for staying here for these 30 minutes, no matter what date or time you're listening and or watching this. You are, this is Love Restored. I am Marshaun Olaniyan, and this is KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes Radio. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And we're going to be taking another deeper dive into the angry black woman who told us that next week. I love you guys. And